want to welcome each of you back to The Dang Right, a Melissa Cardinal podcast with Coach Nally. I am Coach Nally. I want to thank Mr. Kramen and his students for putting together this podcast. Mr. Kramen's a dog, and his students are dogs as well. I'm so pumped to be doing this podcast with him. Our guest today is a.k.a. the Todd Father, a.k.a. Toddrick, a.k.a. Toddy P, the man, the myth, and the legendary Coach Todd Pennington. Coach Pennington is one of the most passionate and driven coaches I've ever had the opportunity to observe coaching. Coach Pennington is about doing the best for kids, and it's a super blessing for Melissa that Coach Pennington is in it. Coach Pennington, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Coach Pennington, give us the journey of Todd Pennington.
Just my coaching journey?
The whole thing. I can tell guys that Coach Pennington is a very avid listener to the Dang Right podcast. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's start from the beginning, Coach. Let's go back, in the 80s when you were born from until now.
I grew up in Van, Texas, and my mom and dad were both in education. My dad was a head football coach and athletic director, and my mom, she coached, and then she got out of coaching, and she just taught. And so went to school at Van, then we moved and went to Brenham for a year and a half, and were there and came back my sophomore year, and then finished out and graduated at Van, and went on to SFA and played football there, and then got out and went right into coaching, went to Van to coach and finished out there. And then from Van, I went to Palestine, and then from Palestine to New Caney, which is in the Houston area. And then here we are at Melissa.
Let me ask you this. I didn't know your mom was a coach. Mm-hmm. What did she coach?
Track.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea. That's awesome. All right, Coach, you have a new role this year as the defensive coordinator. Coach, how's that transition going?
It's been good. It's just, some terminology differences, and just, kind of going back and starting from jump and making sure that everybody's on the same page, and we're all saying and communicating the same way, and, just kind of reestablishing what our culture is going to be like on our whole staff, but also defensively specifically.
Well, on that, Coach, we're still going to base out of a three-man front. We're still going to do certain things that we've done in the past. But, Coach, is there anything significantly different that, Cardinal fans are going to see?
I just think there were some rules that we tweaked a little bit to more align with what we wanted to do out of that odd front and in the back end a little bit. And so, I think that's probably the biggest thing, was just some clearly defined rules and standards that we had to come in and kind of reestablish.
All right. That's not bad. Well, I got my two bosses next to me, Max and Shipp, and Max he's questioning Coach Pennington's love for being on this podcast right now. All right, Coach, let me ask you this. What got you into coaching, and was there a coach that inspired you?
Just growing up as a coach's kid, I loved being around it. And, I was the kid that was always at the field house and was in the locker rooms, and grew up, just grew up there. And really my dad probably had the biggest impact on all that.
What's really cool is, now your kids are getting to grow up in it and be around. I thought it was really neat. I had a conversation with your dad, because now he's on our coaching staff. We're going to talk about that here in a second. But I had a conversation with your dad. It was early on when he got here, but he was like, I have those memories of Todd and, my two other sons being in the field house, being around and all that. And then he said, I really had lost that thought. I can remember him, but I had lost that thought. And he goes, I was coaching one day, and then I turned around and there was Jackson. And he goes, it struck me like this is a special thing for me to have the opportunity to watch my kids grow and watch me do something I'm passionate about. And then now watch my grandkids grow, and they get to watch me do something I'm passionate about. So I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was really cool. All right. big debate. Me and Owen Nally talk about this all the time. Okay, it's more him than me, but it's a great question. And everybody, he's 9, all right? But this is a great question. If you could pick a superpower, what would it be and why?
I think flying. I think that would be cool. So like Superman, how he could just.
But what would you get out of flying? Just you, the flying guy?
Yeah. Just wherever I wanted to go, I could get there quickly and wouldn't have to worry about it. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. That's what I think.
I think flying, I think that would be cool. You know, like Max over here would want to fly because that could help Max, like maybe pick up a girl, okay, in more ways than one. I could pick her up and fly off. And then also like, hey, and Max is the guy that flies, you know. As Coach, are you 40 yet?
I'm 38.
38. As a 38-year-old man, I don't know about flying, Coach.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think maybe super strength. I think the Wolverine power to like heal yourself is probably the one that I would think of.
But if you're like a Superman, you have strength, you can fly, you kind of get the best of both worlds.
So you're saying just all Superman powers?
I think so.
We could get into a long debate about this. I'm not going to, but we could get into a long debate because I do believe Superman, bad to the bone. I do. But then you think about other superheroes that could literally beat the crap out of Superman. Let's talk. I mean, Wolverine, right? I think he could. It's a long debate. I'm not even going to get into it. I'm not even going to get into it. But come on, Coach. Flying?
I don't know.
Okay. All right, Coach. We share the fact that we have 3 sons. What's the direction that you take when coaching your own kids?
Well, it's really hard because it's hard to, I think, as a coach, you know, there's kind of an unfair expectation with your kids too.
Right. And
so, I mean, I'm hard on them. I mean, I am, and I don't really apologize for that. But at the same time, they got to enjoy what they're doing too. And I think that there's a really fine line there where you can push them to the point that they don't want to do it anymore. And so, I mean, I struggle with that. I mean, I do. And, you know, we don't do a lot of select and everything. We play rec ball and we try to play everything, as many things as they want to play. But, you know, at the end of the day, they got to like it, you know, and you can't live. It's not like I'm trying to live through them.
Right.
But, you know, you want them to be successful. And I think there's life lessons that go along with it too. And they got to understand that if they like something, they want to be good at something, they got to put in work with that.
Right.
So some of mine, they'd rather go play with Legos or Magnetiles than go out and practice. I'm like, no, we're gonna go do this. So anyways, I think it's a tough balance.
I think the hardest thing in the coaching profession, you know, some people say it's a coaching wife. I believe it's being a coach's kid. I think it's the toughest thing, just because of the fact, you know, you're being evaluated differently than everybody else in the regards of your own teammates, the outsiders looking in, all that stuff. I think being a coach's kid is extremely difficult. With my kids early on in their lives, I was extremely hard on them. And then my oldest son, because I probably pushed baseball a little too much. And my oldest boy just said, I want to quit. I want to be done. Well, I'm like, sorry for your luck, bro. I own you. You know, you're going to do it. And then, you know, the boss gets involved, the mom. And she's like, no, you're out of control. If he wants to do it, it stopped. So when he stopped, I was like, I got to stop, you know, and I was trying to push him and make him something that he didn't really want to be.
Sure.
You know, so the biggest thing for me was, a coach told me this a long time ago: don't coach your kid. Let somebody else coach your kid. And, you know, it was so funny. I was outside last year talking to my middle son, Hayden, about shooting a basketball. And he looks me square in the face and says, why would I listen to you? You don't know anything about basketball. You coach football. And I'm like, I'm a coach, man. Like, I've coached basketball for a long time and all that stuff. And he was like, nah, I'll just ask Coach Randall. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, just, you know, sometimes you want to Homer Simpson, Bart Simpson these people and choke them out. Yep. But I do believe it's hard just because the stigma and the label that comes with a coach's kid. Yeah. But you got 3 great boys. Sure. All right, let's talk about this, man. What's the obsession with Alabama football?
I just really liked, and I'm really disappointed too. I was pretty depressed for a while when Nick Saban got out, but it's just impressive. It's really just been, it was him, because I followed him when he was at LSU, and then he went to Alabama, and just the way that he goes about things and the culture and the standard that they had, and that he had so much change with players and coaches, with people leaving and people coming in, and coaches leaving and coaches coming in, and yet they really never failed. Like they were able to continue to replicate success with whoever was there, and clearly the leadership aspect is, it points to him and the way that they did stuff. And so I think that, I don't know, it was just really impressive, and I was thankful we got to go and watch a game. Actually, me and Coach Hamilton and his brother, and we went with Nigel to the A&M game, and that was awesome. Just to be there and see it, and see it live and everything. But I think that's the deal, just the kind of the way that he guided the program, really. Well,
in all reality, nobody can obviously argue the fact that he's not the GOAT, in the regards of college coaching. But that is the one thing that inspires me, is just because of the fact of the overturn he had every year, coaches or players getting in the draft every single year. But the big thing, they can take all that out. For me, he was speaking truth to those kids. He was speaking truth to people, and people either bought into it or didn't. And I just love, mediocre people don't like, how does that?
High achievers.
High achievers don't like mediocre people.
Right.
And it's because of, in my opinion, the high achiever can't think like the mediocre person can, and the mediocre person can't think like the high achiever. And it's so easy in life today as a human, but as, just a grown man, just as a kiddo, to do it the easy way. I'm going to try to succeed. I'm going to try to do all this stuff. I'm going to do it the easy way. And he was speaking truths in the regards of, there is no easy way. You're either going to do it the best way that you can do, or you're not going to be able to do it. And I think sometimes that's what the world needs to hear, because we kind of, like, Coach, I grew up First Baptist, and the Baptist preacher every single Sunday was beating on that pulpit. What's it called? Pulpit. I graduated from Frankston. I get it. You're a Van Vandal. Nobody knows this, but in East Texas, Frankston is kind of like the dollar store, and Van in America is kind of like Target. Yeah. Not hating on Frankston education here. Not hating on Frankston education, but if you are a Frankston Indian and you're listening to this, we all know that Van, Canton, and Lindell, we can't stand those people. So. But beating on his pulpit, you know what I'm saying, and speaking truth. And our world has changed in the regards of, now everybody's like, hey, it's cool if you do this, or, it's going to happen, yada, yada. And that's not the truth. The truth is, like I said, I think Nick Saban spoke truths, and that's what I loved about him the most. Sure. Who was the coach that inspired you to get into coaching, and why?
I think I was fortunate and had a ton of good coaches. But ultimately, I think it was my dad. I grew up with that every day, and I didn't know any different, from that. And so even now, when you think about, just kind of things have changed, education has changed, and you're like, if I was to do something different, well, I don't know, because this is what I know, and this is what I've been a part of now this is my 16th year. And so that's a pretty high investment, and it's an investment in, pouring into kids and making kids better and trying to grow people.
Let me ask you this. You're a coach's kid. Because I get this, my kids say that they ask their buddies or whatever, people ask them this a lot, and I'm curious about your dad. Was your dad the same person at the field house as he was at your house?
I don't think so. I remember he was hard on me, and he was probably harder on me than he was my brothers, because I was the first one, and kind of like what you said with Jackson, like the way, but I didn't take it that way, being coached hard and all that. I didn't, I kind of thrived off of it a little bit. And but I mean, I would have never wanted to do this had that have been a bad experience.
Right.
And I don't, he has said he regrets because he brought some stuff home at times and things like that. But I don't remember that, and I've even asked my own kids, like, do y'all wish I did something different?
Right.
Do y'all wish that I was in a line of work and they all looked at me like I was crazy,
right.
And they're, what are you talking about? Like, why would you ask that question? And, so no, I don't think it was the same, but when he coached us, I mean, he was hard on us, and wanted us to, if we were going to, it was always, if you're going to do it, then you're going to do it to the best of your ability, right. Whatever that is.
Right.
And I think, I mean, that's the same expectation we have for our kids here.
Right.
So that hasn't changed.
Right. I think, and I'm going to ask you this question, but for me, it's hard sometimes not to bring it home. It's really difficult. I think I think Jackson said this to the team the other day. My dad didn't get off the couch for 2 weeks after the Stephenville game. And that is, taking it home. Even if you win by one or if you lose by one, you still go home. Now, if it's a win, as well as I do, Coach, like if it's a win, life is good. But if it's a 1 point win, you're like, you're still kind of on that verge of what we've got to get a lot better. Or you lose by one, we've got to get a lot better. And you tend to take that stuff home and focus on it. Or, Coach, as well as I do, if a kid comes up to you and says, Coach, I'm thinking about quitting. Oh, man, that kills me. Or, you hear through the grapevine that a kid's not having a good experience or whatever. That kills me as well. But at the end of the day, I mean, you're right. You're going to have to. Your dad did a great job with it. But how do you do it?
Oh, I don't do a good job of it. I mean, I bring it home. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know if it would matter if I was doing something different. I think just wanting to be the best at whatever it is, and you want to excel, and you want to, either if there's a high expectation and you want to do a good job, and it's hard for me, and I'm trying. I'm working on it, but to leave that outside because it's going to be there,
right?
And
right.
We tell all the time when we meet with those kids defensively, everybody's got stuff going on outside of here, but you got to hang it up outside and then come in here and go to work.
Right.
And you can pick that, whatever you got going on, you can pick that up on your way back out. So, it's something that, I don't know. I think part of it's my personality, but I wish I wasn't like that.
Right. I've gotten better at it through the years, but Coach, it's, what I'm talking about. It can be difficult at times. Coach, what is the craziest thing you've ever heard from screaming fans during a game? I'll tell you mine. I love when they go, block.
Yeah.
Or tackling.
Yeah.
Hey, man, that's some great advice.
Yes. Yes. Always advice. Is. Yeah, that's not. I think it's funny when you hear guys saying, run the ball. And then, if we're struggling, run, whatever, or struggling throwing the ball or pass the ball. It's like, dude, we're trying to do that.
Man.
So, but those are the things: run, block, throw the ball, pass the ball.
Yeah.
You hear that all the time. So,
well, let me ask you this now that we're talking about it, because I asked Coach Hamilton this the other day. My wife, her football literacy is 0. Okay. My wife only cares about winning. That's it. Okay. But when we first started in our marriage, she knew nothing. It was always like, if we won, hey, that's a good job. That'll be about it. If we lost, hey, it's going to be okay. Now that we've been in this profession for a while, if it's a win, y'all probably, need to get better at some things. Good job. But it was only a 14-point win or 21-point win. You probably should have beat them by 50, You're going to have to, get the troops back together and work. And if you lose, she's always questioning, like, what is this third down call? Why did you let this coach call this during this time? Yeah. It's not smart. I was just curious, do you have this same type with your wife? or is your wife a normal person?
Well, I think that she just kind of lets me process it. I mean, she, if we've been through a rough patch or whatever, I mean, she's hung, Bible verses and stuff like that as ways to, like, I'm not going to say anything, but like, here's some encouragement, for you in this, because I mean, she's not going to know enough to ask questions about stuff. And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying
I'm with you, man.
That's facts.
I'm with you. All right, Coach, describe having your dad on the staff with you, but more importantly, that you're the boss of him now.
Where we were at, we ran this defense. And so it was when it kind of went down and there was a chance for it to work, for me, it was comforting because I knew that was one less person that I was going to have to like really hone in and coach them to coach, what we were doing, because even as a head coach, he coached our corners in New Caney all the time with the other guy that we had. And so, and they did a great job. And so I knew it was going to be different. I mean, he's older, and when you got a guy that's older on staff, and, people, even kids, I mean, they look at a guy and it's like, well, this guy's 60 years old and he's coaching corners or, whatever. But I think he has done a really good job, which, I mean, that's something that he's always been a kid magnet, always has built relationships with kids, always had big time buy-in with kids. And so it's awesome. He doesn't even know how much of a blessing that has been for me. But I mean, as far as like the boss thing, like I don't know, because we just have a relationship where we can get into it, or we can have an argument, and we can have a real, in the Melissa terms, honest conversation. And, we can get into it, and then like the next second, everything's like, okay, so we got that solved and we're moving on. And I think you got to do that. I think our world has changed from that, and everybody avoids that, and that kind of thing. People are scared to do that.
Right.
And he ain't, and I'm not either. Like we can, get after it, but then get back on the same page and we're good. So,
Coach, I'm afraid I'd take advantage of it. I mean, when I was a kid, and I'm sure you're the same way, growing up in the same generation and whatnot, but I got told to get outside and mow the grass. I mean, every Saturday morning, my dad would grab my covers at 6 o'clock, rip them off me, and say, you have 5 minutes to get in the yard. Go to the bathroom, get some toast, and be in the yard in 5 minutes. Coach, every single Saturday of my life. Okay. So I would take advantage of it. I'd be like, hey, Dad, you go take the trash out. Hey, Dad, you set up this drill. Yeah. Hey, Dad, I need you to make some copies. I would take advantage of the situation. So I'm glad that you're a good person, because I wouldn't. James Owens, if you're listening to this, 100% I would take advantage of you if you were coaching under me. All right. Watching spring ball, what athletes are standing out for you that you believe are going to have a great fall?
I mean, the two guys that I've coached now for several years, I mean, you got Colin Craig and Grayson Donahoe. They've had a great spring. Still got a long ways to go, but doing a lot of good things. I think Rocky Dunn has really come on. Uche Demka, he's very, very talented, and I think he just does really, really good things. And then there's we got a bunch of seniors that are there that have provided great leadership. Wass broke his hand, and that was
right.
But Antoine Dillon, I mean, Antoine, at nose guard has done really well. And then, Jared Patusik has been there. But so we've just kind of been bunged up though there in spring, though. Right. And which, I mean, in all actuality, it's allowed other people to get reps, more than maybe they would have, or, whatever, which is kind of what our philosophy here at Melissa was about building depth and, creating opportunities for other people. And, but It's been good. I mean, it really has. I think, it's been stressful, this just because you're getting after it, and it's like its own other sport,
right.
Having that. But I think we've benefited from it.
Right.
I think we will benefit from it, going into the fall.
All those kids that you said, I think that you're on the money, but there's a couple kids that are standing out to me just watching film. And Coach, honestly, I was sick this week, so I'll probably watch maybe 5 minutes of film. And the great thing about having great coaches like you and the great coaches that we have on staff is you guys do a great job of watching film and grading film and all those things. But, man, I think Hudson Zufeld's a kid that is going to have a great fall. Really, really, really fired up that he's on our football team. And I think Rocky Dunn is going to be one of those kids that has a great fall. I'm rooting. I really believe that Omatayo could potentially help us out a lot. For me, he's a big frame kid, can run. I just like his personality too. But all those kids you listed, you're 100% right. So,
well, one of the things about Zufeld that's been awesome is, when you're 3 years of kind of doing things a certain way, and then we're tweaking it a little bit,
right.
That was the thing that's been so awesome with him is, he's been just an anchor,
right.
And has really bought in, and he's had a great attitude, and he's transformed his body. He got sick there at the end of the season and all that, and he's put on really, really good weight, and so I mean, and then really the other guy that has kind of stepped in is Max Corbin out.
Man, you stole that from me.
Outside backer. Yeah, and then Sparks has done well, and so I mean there's a lot of development that still needs to go on, and we've got however long until August when we've got to be ready, but I definitely think we've taken strides.
Max Corbin is one of those kids that I wanted to talk about. First off, what a great kid, what a great person. He's going to grow up and be a great man, a great husband. But Coach, he's a dude. That kid can play the game. All right, Coach, we also share a fun disease together, me and you, being a hypochondriac. So what is the craziest self-diagnosis you've ever given yourself?
Oh, man, everything from cancer to brain tumors to heart attacks. I mean, you name it.
Coach, I think I've had everything that's ever been listed in a medical book. I mean, everything.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate to think that way. That's where your mind automatically goes.
It's true.
But it's hard when it's still prevalent.
Coach, I'm going to tell you mine, okay? And it's going to be on air and it's going to be gross, but I'm telling you. So, Coach, I got into, I was right at the end of college. So, I've been lifting like a football player for a long time. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to get into this, like, I want to get huge, so I kind of got in this bodybuilder. I'm going to work out like a bodybuilder. So, Coach, I'm doing all this stuff. But, Coach, I started taking supplements. I started taking creatine, and I started taking whey protein, and just like at high doses, you know what I'm saying? So, make a long story short, man, I got to feeling like I was having a heart attack, okay? And I was like, I'm having a heart attack. Guys, and I'm a college kid, I'm 21, I'm having a heart attack. Take me to the hospital right now, because I was having like pressure around my chest, lower abdomen area, or upper abdomen area. Guys, let's go. So, Coach, I go, I have 1 million tests done, okay? They come to find out you're just constipated.
Awesome.
That is exactly what happened, bro.
At least you found out.
But they were like, all those supplements you're putting in your body, man, it's clogging you up, dude. All right. Being called a coach, what does that mean to you?
I think it's an honor. I think it's, you're held to a high standard, and, a difference maker. I think, and it doesn't matter what age or whatever, you have an opportunity to have an impact on people. And so I think that it really, it can be a little league, whatever. It can be a high school coach or college or whatever else, but they're constantly impacting people.
For me, it's the closest thing to being called dad. And, Coach Chapa said this to me, and it was so profound because I never thought it this way. He was like, parents get upset after the last game. And, and what I mean by that is they get upset if we lose the last game. And but Chapa was like, we go through the same thing every year. We don't get to, if we lose the last game, those are our kids. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. It's the closest thing to being called dad, because you build these relationships with these kids, and they are lifelong. I mean, you know as well as I do, you've been in this profession for a long time, but you still have kids that reach out to you. You still reach out to the kids, So, I mean, that's the biggest thing for me being called a coach is it's very, very special. All right, Coach. Now this is a big one now. All right. If you had to do an MMA fight with the coaching staff, who do you believe would be an easy fight, and who do you not want to fight? This is simple for me.
I probably wouldn't want to fight Metter.
Right, dude. Right.
Because Metter's going to grab you. And
absolutely.
Bad things are going to happen.
Exactly right. And he's going to enjoy it. Yeah. And he's going to be like, hey, do you want to fight? Yeah. Let's do
I've just heard too many stories.
Right. I'm with you on the matter.
So, but the other one I really hadn't thought about. I mean, I don't know. Probably like Dixon or Phelps or something.
I'm so glad you said Phelps. I'm so glad you said Phelps. I would say someone I don't want to fight is, I don't know, man. Coach Hensley, I know he's 50. Yeah. But, I mean, he's superior elite athlete. Yeah. Played in the league for 8 years and all that stuff. And so once again, I don't know if I would want to fight him. I would line him up, Coach. Okay. It would be probably Dixon first. Yeah. Okay. And then it would probably be Phelps, who would be number 2. Coach Majors would be in my top 5. Okay. He would be in my top 5. Let me go around the room real quick. Tyler Scoggin, no way. I think that Coach Howard would get. He knows wrestling too. Yeah. So that kind of scares me.
Go technique on you,
right, man? And I mean, there's no. Yeah, he gives me Coach Pickup. No way, Coach Pickup. Coach, I would love Coach. Love it if they were like, Casey Hamilton, you and Coach Nally could go in there and duke it out. I would love that one. I'm not saying I would win it, but I would enjoy it. Yeah. I think I could get Ryan Hamilton too. I really do. But Metter, no. I wouldn't want to fight Chop either. I think he already has leverage on me. Yeah. You being so short, So, but yeah, that's mine. I'm so glad you said Phelps, though, Coach. That made my day. That's good. I want to thank Coach Pennington for being here today. Coach Pennington, is there anything you'd like to add or any final thoughts that you'd like to share to our listeners before we conclude?
No, I'm just thankful to be here and thankful to be a part of a community that is as supportive as, what Melissa is and what Melissa has shown to me and my family. And I'm just blessed.
Dang right, dude. That's awesome. Dang right. Well, I want to thank Mr. Kramen and his students for allowing us to do this podcast today. Listen in next week. We'll have another great guest, and it's always a great day to be a Cardinal.